Welcome to The Machine, a computer science podcast from Waterford Institute of Technology. Or it could be the Southeast Technological University, depending on when you're listening to this. My name is Rob O'Connor and I'm a lecturer in the Department of Computing and Mathematics. Today we're talking about StudyAtHome, which is an international computer science education program that runs across a number of universities in Europe. On the panel, we have Brendan Jackman from WIT and also Martin Deinhofer from FH Technikum Wien, which is, I think, in English translation, the University of Applied Sciences in Vienna. Is that correct, Martin? I hope I haven't insulted you.
Exactly, yeah. University of Applied Sciences, Technikum Wien.
Okay, great. Lads, you're both very welcome along to the podcast today. I'll start with a very basic question. Brendan, I might give this to you first. What is StudyAtHome?
Hi, Rob. Thanks. Very good question. I guess StudyAtHome, the whole kind of idea behind it originally was to allow students that are, let's say, located in a different country to be able to study modules at a university in some other country. And typically, we have the concept of the Erasmus exchange program that's very familiar to probably a lot of people listening to this podcast, where students physically go and attend another university, let's say for a semester, and there they take a number of modules and they gain credits in those modules that can then be transferred back to their home university. It's kind of a similar idea. It's kind of, if you like, you could kind of think of it as being like a virtual Erasmus student scheme, except the students don't physically have to move to the other country or the university. So it gives them an opportunity to study modules that may not be accessible to them for reasons such as maybe health reasons, or maybe they've got family commitments or work commitments that would make them unable to travel to the other country. And obviously it gives them the same, a lot of the same skills and the same benefits as the traditional Erasmus program.
From what I can see from the StudyAtHome website, a link to which I'll include in the show notes for the podcast rather than calling out a URL because that doesn't make great audio. There is WIT. There is the Martin's University of Applied Science in Vienna, and there's also University in Prague in the Czech Republic, and Skopje, which I hope I'm pronouncing correctly, from Northern Macedonia. Is that correct, Martin?
Yes, absolutely.
And what are the type of programs that are available for students who avail of StudyAtHome, Martin?
Yeah, there are some, depends on the universities, of course, and each of the universities tried to offer some specialities or some special topics that they have on their campus. So, for example, at the University of Prague, the Technical University of Prague, this is, for example, artificial intelligence. And at the University of Skopje, this is digital image processing or user interface design patterns or machine vision. And for my university, the Technikum Wien, our special topic is assistive technologies, but also other modules in the field of audio engineering, electronic design, embedded systems, and data ethics and open data, or finally the building and solar energy.
And Brendan, from WIT's perspective, you're contributing some automotive computing modules. Could you just describe what those are briefly?
That's right, Rob. We have two modules on offer. We've got an IoT, Internet of Things module, which is essentially covering the Internet of Things protocols and standards. So my colleague Frank Walsh is leading that and delivering that. So it looks at some of the main ways of connecting devices together in Internet of Things, together with, say, back-end cloud systems. We also offer a module that I teach called the Connected Car, which is essentially dealing with the networking inside the modern vehicle. So all the kind of what's known as CAN bus connections, connecting all your control units like ABS braking, engine management systems, infotainment systems. There's a number of networks inside the car using various technologies. So we look at all those technologies, teach the protocols and how they work, and we do some practical work to give students the experience of building and debugging these networks in the lab.
Mm-hmm. So from what I can hear from the modules that are described, they seem to be quite specific to certain domain areas rather than just, I don't want to say generic computer science modules, but I mean, there's not a introduction to programming, app development, computer science 101, whatever you're having yourself. It's not those type of modules. They do tend towards the specific, that maybe there would not necessarily be a competency for in each individual university. So Martin, for example, if you're talking about assistive technologies and accessibility, that's something that, we don't know an awful lot about, say in Waterford, but clearly you have, a huge degree of expertise in that area. Would that be fair?
Yeah, this is really the basic idea of it on one hand, but also on the other hand, as Brandon said, it's also important that students which are not able to do an exchange semester abroad can also have a certain extent of internationalization experience, and so this is our idea of internationalization at home, and yeah. This way, the students should be able to stay in contact with a professor that is talking in English. They will have to listen to English content and discuss in English with other students. And this is a very good learning experience for them because our students are not native English.
So that's an interesting aspect of it. I mean, we're talking about accessibility. Irish people famously are poor at languages, and I'll hold my hand up there more than anyone. A lot of like mainland continental Europeans, your language skills are excellent, certainly compared to ours. I mean, Martin, you're doing a podcast here today in English, which is not your native language. Is it a huge barrier to teach through English and learn through English, do you think?
Yes, I think so. Of course. Even talking in English is much more difficult than just listening to it, I would say. And also for the students, maybe it depends on the topic. If it's a topic that uses English terms anyway, so like in computer science and programming, then maybe it's easier because all the tutorials are in English anyway. But nevertheless, it's not the same if you hear the contents in your native language or if you hear it in a foreign language.
And why has English been decided upon as the common language? Is it because of the I suppose that kind of technological history from the US and the UK?
I would say just because it's the international language number one.
Okay. I often wonder about things like that because I'm wondering, is it a little bit arrogant of people like us who are native English speakers assuming that other people can join in on this language rather than having to learn German or French or whatever else it might be?
I guess it kind of works the other way as well, I think, Rob. Like we'd have a lot of students who would go on the traditional Erasmus program. They go to places like Spain and Germany, and when they get there, they've kind of got to do all their stuff through Spanish or German. And like I've spoken to students who maybe have come back from Spain before, and they said like one of the best things they got out of it was learning some Spanish. So I guess it's probably easier with the traditional Erasmus because you physically have to go there and you're immersed in the language. With the e-learning thing, you're dipping in and out of a module online, and you're not in the environment. So it's going to be a lot more difficult to do that,
Yeah. I can imagine it's tough. So again, what we're talking about here, these are I don't want to call them online modules because they aren't online. They're hybrid modules, which we'll talk about in a few moments. But it's a way of having an international education experience from your own home. Or when I say your own home, it doesn't necessarily have to be in your house. It can be in a lab in a college or wherever else it might be. But without
or something,
in your car, in your connected car, perhaps.
In your connected car, of course. The only kind.
But not while driving, hopefully.
Not while driving, no.
Not while driving, no. That we frown upon that. So the motivation as to why a student might get involved in this, because it is optional, would be to learn some specific skills or learn about a specific domain area, such as assistive technologies or automotive computing or any of the other modules that are on offer, but equally to gain a bit of an international perspective. Would that be fair, do you think?
Yes. That's
okay.
The idea. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So, well, let's talk about some of the individual modules and perhaps how they work in practice. So, Brendan, we go to yourself first. So these modules are delivered in hybrid mode. So what does hybrid mode mean?
Yeah, I guess we're still kind of working that one out.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm going to stop you for 1 second because I just maybe want to clarify something. This was on rail. This was already in train prior to the pandemic.
That's right.
So this wasn't something that came up because of COVID. This was something that was already in train before the pandemic, and it just happened to begin as COVID began.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So that's I suppose that's the context to this next question as to what is hybrid learning.
Yeah. So we've been, as you quite rightly said, we've been kind of planning this now for a few years, and one of the kind of big questions we had, do you remember, Martin, back in the early discussions, was how do we make the experience the same for the physical students in the class and the virtual students coming online, to give them, the same in-class experience, more or less. And we spent a lot of time agonizing about this and looking at different scenarios and so on. And then, ironically, the first time we ran the modules, it was during COVID, when all the students were online anyway. So all our WIT students were online. The virtual students coming in from Vienna and elsewhere were online. So for the first run of this, the first iteration, the student experience, we could definitely say it was the same for everybody, because everybody was online at the time. This year we're running it for the first time really in a hybrid mode. So we have some students physically in the labs in WIT, and we've got some students joining remotely over Zoom. So we're trying to, I suppose, for the most difficult part I find in my module is when I've got to do practical labs. If I'm presenting the theoretical background to the subject, it's quite straightforward, because I can present the PowerPoint slides and talk around them, and I can do a lot of drawing and stuff on the whiteboard, and that's easy to share online with everybody, and everybody gets the same kind of view of that and the same experience, and then everybody has the same access to the backup material on our college eLearning platform called Moodle. Where it gets really tricky is when I need to do practical laboratory work, where students need to connect up pieces of hardware and use application packages and so on. So the way I've been working that is, first of all, the online students, the physical students and the online international students, they all have the same software packages installed on their laptops. So they can do all the same experiments in Vienna and Prague and elsewhere as the students in the lab in WIT can do. So we use a lot of simulation packages for vehicle networking in the connected car. So the vast majority of it can be done from the comfort of their home in Vienna or wherever, and they get the same experience then as the students in WIT. So that would cover maybe 80% of the practical work. The 20% where we've got to use physical hardware in the lab, the way we do that is we've got separate cameras set up, kind of pointing at the hardware so that they can see on the screen the physical hardware setup. And we can set them up in breakout rooms with the physical students in WIT so that they can work together as a team on the on the practical work, and they can collaborate on that. So that's the approach we've been taking with it. And again, it's been the first year doing it, so like everything, we learn from the first experience, and we'll hopefully do it better again next time.
Yeah, but it sounds very interesting. I'm sure that the lessons from, I suppose, teaching remotely or emergency remote teaching during the pandemic have been able to inform perhaps what you're doing in this class. Like, for example, the use of an online whiteboard. We were all forced to do something like that, and people use a variety of different technologies. But it's probably made the system better for everyone overall, if you know what I mean. Or has it?
Yeah, I think so. I found, I guess for Connected Car, it hasn't really changed that much, because I was using a lot of simulation tools anyway in that module. But in other modules, for example, I had to completely rethink the way I was doing it. Like one kind of other example would be, say, a digital photography module that I do. I normally spend maybe 2 or 3 weeks doing studio lighting. So I was kind of faced with the problem: how do I do studio lighting over Zoom? And if I can't do it, I've kind of got 3 weeks of material that I need to fill in with otherwise. So I managed to find a really, really good studio lighting simulator online. And it's basically a physics engine, if you like, like a physics gaming engine that does all the light rendering and stuff. But it's a professional photographer's package. So I managed to get that, and there's basically a free demo version that you can get, so the students can download that. And we did the whole thing online using the simulator. And to be honest, I kept using it this year after we went back to live classes, because it made the whole thing more efficient, because the students were able to kind of set up the different scenarios in the simulation, try them out, and then when they went to do the physical thing in class, they had the setup done within minutes, whereas normally they spend a half an hour trying to set up a particular configuration. It was all much, much more streamlined, So it was a side bonus of the whole thing, I guess.
Yeah, there's a silver lining to every cloud. And Martin, I want to ask you a few questions about accessibility, because it is your area of expertise. And I share an office with a mathematician who has brought lessons from the pandemic further into his class. So, for example, he now no longer uses the whiteboard. He uses a drawing tool that is presented on the projector screen, the same as everything else. And he says he started using it during the pandemic because he found that students who maybe had poor vision or were further back in the class always struggled to see the whiteboard anyway, whereas this catalyst of COVID forced him to use something else, and he's been able to carry it on. It's a very small example of maybe accessibility, but I'd imagine that is a hugely interesting area and impactful area for a student to delve into.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think there's a big potential with the digital technologies, the digitalization, that we can make the world even more accessible. And thank you for this very interesting example you said before, because using this digital whiteboard, for example, could be also a possibility for a person with no sight to follow the contents of the whiteboard, because then it would be easier to translate this visual information to an audio information, and to automatically speak it out loud, and so everybody could follow it, or to translate it to a text, or to translate it to a different language even.
And do you find that the students who take up the accessibility and assistive technology modules are maybe coming at it from their own personal experience? Have they got either an issue that they need to resolve themselves, or perhaps they might have a family member who has poor sight or poor mobility? Is there often a personal motivation that gets them into it?
This is surely also the case, but not only. I would say in many cases it's also that if a person is interested in like in social things like helping each other and helping other people, then this is also the case for the assistive technologies topic. And so this way you can combine like your passion for technology and also your motivation and your will to help other people.
Yeah, I have very limited experience of accessibility within software, but I learned a bit about it from doing some web development and app development. And there were some simple things around color blindness that I wasn't aware of. Like I think 1/6 of males, kind of white males particularly, are colorblind in some form. So by designing screens with color blindness in mind, you're helping to accommodate those individuals, but it actually makes for a better experience for everyone, because it's easier for a normal sighted person to view, for example, dark text on a light background or light text on a dark background than something in between. I know that's a very simple example, but it's or not relying on perhaps an audio cue for something, because maybe somebody might have poor hearing or be on the deaf spectrum, and those kind of things. When you start to think about them, they make perfect sense, and they actually make for better software or better experiences for everyone.
Yeah, this is a very important point, which we also call temporary disability. And what we mean is that everybody can benefit from an improvement in accessibility, because everybody has a temporary situation where he is in a certain kind of disabled or impaired. Yeah. For example, if you imagine you drive your car and at the time you aren't able to look at the screen or to watch something on the screen, and so it's very good for you that you can listen to a text, or that your smartphone can read out loud the SMS that you get, or something else. And on the other hand, if you're in a very loud environment, maybe in the public transport, then you aren't able to hear the sound of a video or something else. So then it's easier to watch a video with subtitles on. And those are situations where everybody can benefit from it.
Yeah, I can think of a number of examples. Like it's going off in my head there though at the moment. It's a hugely fascinating area. I read an article recently about a video game, Forza Horizon. I don't know if any of you have played it. Brendan, it's a car racing game. Might be up your alley, might not. But they won an award for the inspired use of assistive technology. Because they incorporated a lot of those kind of features into the game to allow more people to play the game, but equally that made it a better experience for all players. So I can certainly see the benefit of that, and that's just across, I suppose, pretty much every spectrum of technology. To maybe just go back to StudyAtHome and maybe talk about some of the nuts and bolts around this. So this is an agreement. This has been formally agreed between the 4 universities that we discussed earlier. Some might come into it in the future as well, so it's not a closed shop. If there was a student listening who thought, oh, maybe I might like to learn a bit about accessibility or something else like that, or the connected car or whatever, or any of the other modules that are available, what's the best next step for them to take? Brendan?
I think the best next step would be to go onto the website, have a look at the module, have a look at the detail, the contents of the module, see if it's kind of what they're interested in. If they want more information, then they can contact the lecturer in question or the coordinator, Martin, there for more details, and they can sign up online, so they can register online. And that will then be processed through their local international office in their university. And looking at the website there, again, I'm going to call it out, but it will be included in the show notes. It's hub.studyathome.technikum-wien.at.
But again, I'll include the link to that in the show notes. I notice, Martin, that it's listed down that there's going to be a summer school in July of this year, 2022. Assist Heidi, about creating inclusive environments for people with disabilities. Would you be able to maybe tell us a little bit about the kind of stuff that might be on offer during that? Perhaps if there was some students listening who might be interested in attending throughout. It's in July, I believe, yes?
It's in July, yes, that's correct. Unfortunately, it's already booked out.
Okay.
We didn't talk about it before, but nevertheless, it's a really very interesting summer school, I would say, and it's called Assist Heidi because Heidi is on one hand a very common traditional name in Austria for a woman, and it's on the other hand it's an acronym for a human being with disability. And this way, that's the concept of the summer school, because we have invited 2 persons with disability, and so they will be the use cases for the students there on campus, and so they will talk about their daily situation. They will talk about the problems they have in their daily situations, and also talk about certain kinds of assistive tools. And we will also show the students or learn the students some background, some medical background of types of disabilities and causes of disabilities, and then go on with assistive tools, mainly assistive tools we have developed on our campus.
Yeah. Brendan, the idea behind this is tied up with a kind of a larger view of education, because I suppose it's important that we state that if a student chooses to take up one of these modules, they're extra credit. So they don't replace credits that they do on the regular modules. They're just extra bits that they can do to learn about something because they're interested in it. Is that's correct, isn't it?
Yeah, that would be right, Rob. Yeah, it would be additional credits that they'll get for those modules. So it wouldn't be in place of anything that they're currently studying as part of their normal degree programs. Yeah, that's true.
Do you think it might be something that, I know we're just speculating here. Do you think it might be something that we could introduce in perhaps future versions of courses? Like, for example, the assistive technologies one. I would see no reason why accessibility, software accessibility or technological accessibility wouldn't be perhaps an elective that students on our applied computing course or one of other courses might be able to take in fourth year, for example.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think there's huge scope for technologies such as the ones that Martin has outlined to us there already. I mean, this is kind of all, if you think about, say, the whole UX user experience thing, which is really the web kind of aspect of it, it's just like a smaller subset of the whole assistive technologies area that Martin has explained. And in fact, in Vienna, they've got an excellent user experience lab where they can get people to sit down and use a website, and they've got cameras monitoring their retina so they can see exactly where they're looking on the screen and see which part of the web page has been hit most by their eyeballs, and do all kinds of analytics on that, which is really fascinating, So it's definitely something that would be useful to kind of build up some expertise in it. And also maybe, we've got a lot of modules that we offer in our Internet of Things degree. So our Internet of Things degree is generic in terms of its end-use applications. The assistive technologies courses and the smart homes courses that are offered in Vienna are more targeted towards those areas, I guess, than our own courses. But I don't see any reason why we couldn't bring in some aspects of these different application areas into our own courses, perhaps, as you say, maybe through some elective modules that are on offer to the students.
Absolutely. It's something we should look at, and I think we will.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, so to summarise it, what I would hear from this is that StudyAtHome is a relatively low stakes way that students can engage in an international education experience that then might lead them on to something else. Would that? Do you think that'd be fair enough?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I say low stakes because it's not like you're saying, okay, I'm going to up and move myself to Vienna or to Prague or wherever. Or equally, the students in Vienna don't have to up and move sticks to Waterford in order to engage with the connected car. But it might turn them on a little bit to Irish culture. The Irish students, it might turn them on a little bit to Austrian culture, and so on and so on.
But I would like to annotate that it, of course, it could also be a teaser for that university and maybe to go abroad in a subsequent semester or so.
Absolutely, yeah. And I believe like the Erasmus program is coming back in a big way. I've noticed a lot of Erasmus students around the campus in WIT this semester. I don't know what it's like in Vienna. Have you noticed many Erasmus students around, Martin?
Yeah, it's like it's even more than before, and there are many students traveling around again. They're really very eager to see other people again, and yeah, which is really very understandable after the very long lasting pandemic, right?
Absolutely, 100% on that. Right, so look, the website address for Study at Home, as I said, it's like hub.studyathome.technikum.wien or #Wien -@, but I'll put that into the show notes so anyone can click on it if they wish. Brendan and Martin, if somebody wanted to find out a little bit more about you, maybe get in contact, what's the best place for them to go? Brendan?
For us, I can be emailed directly at bjackman@wit.ie. We also have a little website, part of the WIT website. It's just www.wit.ie/automotive. So it gives a little bit about information about our automotive research group, but I can also be contacted through there. My colleague Frank Walsh can also be contacted through that same website as well.
Brilliant. And Martin, if somebody wanted to learn a bit more about you or the type of work that you're doing, what's the best place to go?
Actually, it's through the hub, and because we've also a page for each of the lecturers, and also Brandon and Frank do have an own page with their contact data, and it's also the case for me and for the other lecturers.
Brilliant. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for speaking with me today. It sounds like a fascinating program. The opportunities that are available to students today are, I think, absolutely mind-bending. I think they're great. And I do hope there's plenty of people take up the opportunity to learn about these things in, as I said, a low-stakes manner. I wish you all the best with Study at Home. And hopefully, Martin, we might see you over here at some stage in the not-too-distant future, or perhaps we might even see you in Vienna at some stage as well. Cheers, lads. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks very much, Rob. Thanks, Rob.